Revving up to the 5 red lights for F1 2017 career mode, and we are away. And what a start it has been from Giovinazzi, getting past the 2 Saubers and the McLaren Honda of Fernando Alonso before we've even got into turn 1. Again, Grosjean possibly taking a look at Palmer, brakes very early. Giovinazzi the complete opposite, a little bit of a lock-up on the inside front, but what a move on his teammate. And is he going to go for a move down the inside into turn 3, his favourite overtaking spot? Sure he does, up into P9. And then you can see there's a safety car that's been deployed. Stoffel Van Dorn is out of the race. Unsurprisingly, we've lost the McLaren Honda. And is he going to make a lunge down the inside? He does, but there's contact, so Antonio just lets Esteban back through. What a race that was, and P9 on his F1 debut. Brilliant stuff for Antonio Giovinazzi. What is up, guys, and welcome to episode number 2 of the F1 2017 Road to Ferrari career mode. You guys seem to really love episode 1, which is fantastic, and if we can hit 100 likes on this video once again, then I will release another episode on Tuesday. That will be the Bahrain Grand Prix, but of course we are here today for China, and as you can see on the screen, we are in for some rainy conditions, and throughout the weekend we've really got a mixture of conditions. You know, we've got some dry, some intermediate, and some full wet running within practice, qualifying, and the race. But if you guys didn't check out the Australian Grand Prix, which was of course episode 1, then you were really missing out. But as you saw in the little segment at the start of the video, we did manage to take points on our debut, slightly behind our teammate, but it was P9 nonetheless. And we're starting off today's episode with some good news. As you saw at the end of last episode, we went to do a durability upgrade, and obviously that is quite a cheap one, which is why I did it, and sure enough it was fitted for this Grand Prix. So it decreases the general wear of the power unit by about 10%. So yeah, that is a good one to get in the bag early on, especially as you get such big penalties for changing the components on this game. But anyway, we are going to get straight into the practice program, and just like the Australia circuit, Antonio really not familiar with this Shanghai International Circuit. Only really done simulator running, so it was important to get that track acclimatization done, and he obviously got the purple, which is the maximum amount of points. Now getting into the tyre wear test, which was completed next, and you can see turn 1 and 2 around here are an absolute killer for the tyres. So you can see in the red throughout that whole section, which was a little bit disappointing, but as you can see, as he went around the lap, Gio managed to improve that and actually went all the way into the purple, so a very good sector 2 and 3, which resulted in a low tyre wear result and another purple, which was another 50 resource points. Now onto the fuel saving, and you can see we've got a car in our mirrors, which wasn't too helpful, but we did manage to get the green, and didn't end up improving on that, just like in Australia. So yeah, fuel saving, possibly something that we can look into on this car. Then it was time for the race strategy, and as you can see on the screen, we are in the red zone, and that is because it's looking very heavy up above from the clouds, and there was rain falling on the track in our final lap as well. All we needed to do was complete this lap in green, and then we got the maximum amount of points, and thankfully we managed to do it just before the rainstorm occurred. But yeah, then we got into practice 2. Obviously the rest of the session was a write-off due to the rain, and it was time to get into the qualifying pace. And just like in Australia, it was a little bit of a struggle, and going through the final corner, you can see we failed the first 2 laps, only managing 17th, but we did just about manage to get P11 on the final one, which was good for ourselves. And yeah, we used all those resource points that we'd accumulated in the practice sessions to go towards the chassis. It was suggested by you guys in the comments. Once again, I'd love to hear down below what you'd like to see me develop next, maybe to go further into the chassis or into the aerodynamics. But yeah, we're the 3rd worst team for the chassis, which is why we chose to do that. But yeah, getting into qualifying now, and once again we have rain. This time it is torrential rain, so full wets, and the Haas boys decided to get Antonio out onto the circuit pretty early we decided it would be a good idea to, give him a little bit of running in the full wet conditions, because just look at it out on track. It's basically a monsoon. And, get out there early, clear some water, and hopefully the lap times will tumble for him as the session goes on. But, yeah, 11 laps of fuel the team put in the car, which wasn't too beneficial. You can see running on the maximum setting and still having 9 laps left as Giovinazzi comes to complete his first lap, and he is a long way off the pace behind Fernando Alonso in the McLaren Honda, and this Haas car just doesn't seem to be hooking up in the rain. Obviously, it hasn't really got a good chassis, which doesn't help, and then you can see going on to the next lap, just getting into the gravel, and that was a write-off. Then right at the end of the session, he decided to go back out and try and improve, but, well, what has gone on here? We have been sent out, or the Haas guys have sent Giovinazzi out too late in the session, and it is going to be a P20 start for the Italian. So there you can see the grid for the race. It's Bottas and Vettel lining up on the front row with their two teammates, Raikkonen and Hamilton, on row 2. It's an all Red Bull third row and an all Williams fourth row with Perez and Grosjean rounding out the top 10. Then it is Ocon, Hülkenberg, Sainz and Palmer in the top 14. Kvyat, Alonso, Van Dorn, Ericsson, Wehrlein, and then Giovinazzi in last place. So not a good qualifying whatsoever. And as we get into the race now, thankfully for the Haas boys, it is dry. Obviously, though, Grosjean did manage to put it into P10, as you can just see the driver's standings there. It was obviously a Mercedes 1-2 for the first round of the season, so they have 43 points on the board in the constructors standings, and it is their man once again on pole position. This time it is Valtteri Bottas, so 2 Finns in 2 races going on pole position. But now we are going on to the formation lap, and we're just going to take a look at the comparison between Giovinazzi and Grosjean. I'm going to be doing this in every episode, just taking a look to see the teammate comparison. So it's now 1-1 in qualifying after Giovinazzi out-qualified Grosjean first in Australia. The favour has been returned, I guess you could say. So yeah, Giovinazzi falling behind in absolutely everything now. He doesn't actually have the edge over Grosjean in anything. But, of course, it is very early days at the moment, and he has got plenty of time to make that up as the season goes on. So there you can see the big boys at the front, the Mercedes and Ferrari settling into their grid slots, and Giovinazzi is a long way behind this action. Obviously, he wants to be joining it at some point in the future, but for the moment, he is in last place for the start of the Grand Prix. It should be a one-stopper today, going onto the medium tyres, but now we are revving up to the 5 red lights, and away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix. And what a start once again for Giovinazzi, dispatching a Wehrlein and Van Dorn with ease, but he gets squeezed out by Fernando Alonso going into turn 1, who's trying to go around the outside of Ericsson. And what a start it is from Alonso, just going around the outside of pretty much everyone, as Giovinazzi managing to get up into P16, but he's been knocked there by the torpedo Daniel Kvyat. And once again, he's had 2 swipes at the Italian, but there you can see almost a 5-some going towards turn 6, and Giovinazzi makes a dive down the inside. That could be a brilliant move, and sure enough, he actually manages to get ahead of Jolyon Palmer, as all the cars now sweep through this this left-right section, which must feel so good in these 2017 cars. And sure enough, Giovinazzi managing to dispatch of Palmer on the exit of the corner and going up into P15. So it's not been too bad a start from the Haas man. And yeah, making up 5 positions, but Alonso pretty much following Giovinazzi through, and he is up in P14, and hopefully the Honda engine should be pretty much easy meat on the straights. But now going through here, you can see on the fuel gauge, you might actually not be able to see because it is quite difficult. But anyway, Giovinazzi running with 1.1 laps less of fuel, so you can't be running it in rich for too long, but it shouldn't be too difficult to get past that Honda engine. And sure enough, it isn't. So ahead of Fernando Alonso and up into P14. So it's been a pretty good first lap for Antonio, up 6 positions as Valtteri Bottas is still leading after lap 1. And yeah, going around the final corner in P14. So now going on to lap 3, of course, this is where the DRS is going to be active, and braking now down into this again, it's pretty much a snail section. I mean, they call Sector 1 the snail section, but once again, this section of track almost curls back on itself, and now on to the second longest straight on the F1 calendar, second only to the Baku main straight. And on the DRS now, Giovinazzi, will he be able to pull a move on Carlos Sainz? It doesn't look as if he's really gaining that much. Of course, Sainz has the Renault engine as opposed to the Ferrari engine in the back of the Haas, but yeah, not quite enough. So next lap, lap 4, it's going to be another opportunity to try and get past. And this time, will Giovinazzi be able to get through? You can see ahead of this, at the head of this train is Lance Stroll, and he's locked up. And going down the inside is Giovinazzi, and it's a double overtake in all the carnage that was ensuing in front. Giovinazzi just says, thank you very much, you're not going to be dawdling. I am not waiting for Lance Stroll to lock up. And he makes a move up into P12, and this has been a fantastic start to the Grand Prix. And pretty much back where this Haas car belongs. So his teammate Grosjean, you can see there, in just ahead of him in P10. So whilst Grosjean hasn't made up any positions, Giovinazzi has only been going forward. And on to the next lap now, lap 5. Once again, having the DRS, and this time Stroll has gone round. He is round, and that is surely the end of his points charge this afternoon. And there you can see Giovinazzi getting a little bit confused there in the yellow flags. And in fact, just as the yellow flags disappeared, Nico Hülkenberg, coincidentally in the yellow car, manages to pass him. Also trying to get past is Carlos Sainz down the inside. It's going to be side by side going into the snail section, but he's going to try and hang it round the outside is the Italian. He's going to have the inside line for turn 3, and if he can get the traction, he should be able to get ahead of the Spaniard Sainz, and sure enough, he manages to do that and maintains P12. So Nico Hülkenberg, interestingly, on the soft tyres, so he's going for a slightly different strategy. But yeah, we're going to take a look at a replay, just what happened to Stroll. So it's Sergio Perez, and he just clips the back of the young Canadian, and that is very unfortunate, but you've got to say he was holding up that train. So yeah, can't really complain too much. But anyway, on to lap 9. There was a couple of cars in the pit lane there. I believe it was Ricciardo and Massa, so they must be 2-stopping this afternoon, unless they are planning to go a very long way on the medium tyres. But meanwhile, Giovinazzi just sticking behind Nico Hülkenberg. Obviously the pit window will be opening in a few laps time, but for the meantime, he is just going to be sitting behind and hopefully taking some DRS, which he indeed does, but he is nowhere near close enough to be making a move, and then he just makes a complete mistake, braking too late into the hairpin, and sure enough, Carlos Sainz capitalises on that mistake, getting up into P10. And now Giovinazzi is going to have to get past him if he wants any chance of points this afternoon. So he's on the DRS, and is he going to be able to make a move down the inside? There's a car emerging from the pit lane. That is Max Verstappen, and it doesn't look as if he's going to be able to make a move unless he can now throw one down the inside. What an audacious move. Just almost parks it in front of the Toro Rosso. Sainz was caught napping down the inside, and Giovinazzi now up in another position. But anyway, on to lap 10, and the team have called Antonio into the pit lane for the first and only time this afternoon. As I mentioned on the grid, it is going to be a one-stopper for the majority of cars this afternoon, starting on the Super Softs, which, yeah, managed to go 10 laps. And Antonio, not really feeling the effects of it too much. I didn't show you the tyre gauge, but I believe it was on about 50%. So, yeah, not too bad. And now fitting the medium tyres, which will be considerably slower. And it will actually be interesting to see how much they grip into the circuit. But by the looks of the left-hand side, it looks as if that is a strategy that everybody is going to go for. So, Giovinazzi coming out in P16, just behind Sergio Perez. And this is going to be the real test of where his proper position is going to be. So a lot of cars now emerging from the pit lane, and that is Carlos Sainz, in fact, so he just about gets ahead of the Spaniard, and this is going to be a titanic battle all afternoon. And Grosjean, who pitted a lap after Giovinazzi, of course in the same pit box for the Haas boys, is just ahead of him. But Grosjean, who started 10 positions ahead, is now being closed down by his young teammates. So the Italian now trying to make a move possibly on the experienced Frenchman, but he's just going to be closing up, and there is a 4-way battle here for P9. And this is pretty much like Australia all over again. It's the two Haas cars, the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg, and also the Force Indias, and even the Toro Rossos are getting involved. But now it is the Force India of Ocon with the Hülkenberg and Grosjean going 3 wide into turn 1. This is surely not going to end well. Grosjean has the inside line. Ocon has been overtaken twice already, and he is now fallen into the clutches of myself. And it looks as if Hülkenberg has just about got the traction over Grosjean, so he takes P9. And wow, this is going to be a fantastic battle all the way to the end. We've still got 12 laps left in this Grand Prix, and Giovinazzi now just setting himself up for a move on Ocon. He has recovered his fuel very well, only 0.05 laps down at the moment, so he can afford to go into rich mix, which it doesn't look as if Ocon has the ability to use at this stage. They both have DRS open, and even though Ocon has a better engine in the back of his car, Giovinazzi goes down the inside, almost outbrakes himself, just about keeps it within the track limits, and Ocon has completed the switchback move up into P11 once again. And as we go through the final corner now we can see Ferrari versus Mercedes on the engine front. Ocon has no DRS, Giovinazzi does. Surely he's going to breeze down the inside. Very difficult to control the car over the bumps into turn 1 as they go side by side now, but Giovinazzi goes up into P11 as there was a Williams there of Felipe Massa emerging from the pit lane just ahead of Grosjean. But there you can see Giovinazzi holding on to that P11, and in fact Grosjean managing to get ahead of Hülkenberg between laps 18 and 20. So yeah, at the moment it's looking very, very good for Haas. This middle part of the race was a very, very good part of it for us, but Giovinazzi now trying to get into a points-paying position. So barring any mishaps for the front runners, it looks as if this is going to be the finishing order if no more overtakes are going to be completed. So if he wants to get points for his second consecutive race, he's going to have to complete a move on the experienced German. He's been in F1 since 2010, but the new Renault driver looks as if he's struggling on these tyres now. Of course, he started on these soft tyres, so it's been a very strange strategy for Hülkenberg, but he is surely helpless with that Renault engine, and the engine in the back of our Haas is looking very beneficial at this point as we now brake going in to the hairpin, and that is a lovely move from Antonio up into P10, and next up is his teammate. So yeah, Grosjean and Giovinazzi in the last Grand Prix only had a very short battle really at the start of the race, but now it is going to be a real battle to the end to see who is going to take 9th place. It looks as if one of the Williams cars, I'm going to say, and also the Force India of Sergio Perez are occupying P7 and P8, so it is very much just a race for P9 to the end. And on lap 23, this engine in the back of Giovinazzi's car is looking a hell of a lot more powerful than Grosjean's. I know he was in the rich mix, but it's still looking very, very good for Giovinazzi. And onto lap 24, he's just biding his time at the moment, but it looks as if these medium tyres may start to be going off at this stage, because there was a lot of wheel spin at that point, and it looks as if now he's just almost lost his head. He's just got to concentrate. He's still got another 4 laps in this Grand Prix to try and catch his teammates, and it was in fact lap 27 before he managed to get DRS back again. So just 2 more laps left in this Grand Prix, and as they both squirrel into the braking zone of turn 1 and turn 2, you can now see how much Giovinazzi is gaining. He's saved a bit of fuel for these final 2 laps, and it will be interesting now to see whether the senior member of the team can hold back the young Italian. Going now down into turn 6, this will be an indication of to see you know, who is going to be on top in the team. With just 1 lap left in the Grand Prix, is Giovinazzi going to go for a move? No, he isn't. He thinks better of it. He doesn't want to come to blows with his teammate already and, you know, fall out with the team at such an early stage and maybe even hamper a drive at Ferrari. But as we now go around the final corner, he is very much struggling on these tyres. There is just 1 more lap left in this Chinese Grand Prix, and the front runners are probably going to be coming around the final sector now, but we have got a big battle to watch here here. And once again, Giovinazzi trying to take a look down the inside. Turn 2, that, you know, just where that first corner tightens up, just looks as if that's where Antonio is gaining the time in this lap. But now he goes a little bit wide there through turn 4 and 5 and is breaking down now into 6. It's a big double lockup on the front. And yes, sure enough, the front runners have finished the Grand Prix. Kimi Raikkonen showing his OP-ness in this game once again, takes the victory for Ferrari, and now just one more braking zone, or 2 more braking zones to go for the Haas drivers. And looking from the back of Grosjean's car, Giovinazzi makes a dive down the inside, and there's been contact between the two of them, and Giovinazzi is surely going to have to let Grosjean through, and he does indeed. They're side by side into the final corner. Grosjean holds his line, and before trying to get the switch back, it doesn't quite work for Giovinazzi. P9 and P10 for the Haas boys. Another double points finish. And boy, oh boy, what a Grand Prix it was. A really intense one, in fact, from the cockpit, I can tell you that. But it was Ferrari today that took the top step of the podium. It was Mercedes who took pole and Ferrari that took the win. It was the opposite of what happened in Australia, but Kimi Raikkonen looks very happy with that. Very unrealistic, in fact. Seeing as he looks so happy, even though he has won a Grand Prix, which we haven't seen for a while in real life Formula 1. So climbing out of the car is Giovinazzi. I think he can be very proud of his result today. You can see another points finish. I mean, for such a young driver to come into the sport and in a Haas car with a very experienced teammate, you know, they just seem to be thriving off each other at the moment. So we'll have to wait to see what happens in Bahrain. But for the Ferraris, it was a very good afternoon. It was a 1-2 for them. Bottas could only convert his pole position into P3. So, yeah, it looks as if it's going to be Raikkonen leading the championship as we go to Bahrain. But, yeah, we're going to take a look at the race results now. So it was Kimi Raikkonen, Vettel and Bottas on the podium with Lewis Hamilton in P4. Only 0.4 of a second behind his teammate, who did a 2-stop strategy along with Vettel. Verstappen and Ricciardo in P5 and P6, and we've already covered the rest of the top 10. You can see there we were 8 seconds ahead of Esteban Ocon, so it was a very strong end to the Grand Prix for Giovinazzi. And now you can see the drivers' standings. So we have fallen 1 place in 2P11 with Felipe Massa scoring 6 points this afternoon. So not too bad at the moment, you know, scoring consistent points, and I'm sure as the season goes on and the upgrades roll in, we should be able to improve. So in P5 in the constructors standings, I would very much take that at the end of the season, but we will have to see how it ends. So Mercedes currently leading the way in the constructors, but there you can see the teammate comparison. So it's 1-1 in qualifying, as we said before, and Grosjean now 2-0 on the race front, so Giovinazzi's going to have to hold that back pretty quickly. But he did manage to get a faster lap than Grosjean, so yeah, just a little way to one-up him this afternoon was that. And of course, Grosjean now on 8 points to Giovinazzi's 3. But guys, that is the end of episode number 2 of the Road to Ferrari. Do make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy it, and I will catch you guys for the Bahrain Grand Prix on Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.